Over the weekend, the United States carried out a major military strike on Venezuela and announced that it had abducted President Nicolás Maduro. The operation sent shockwaves across Latin America, and the pressure did not stop there. On Monday morning, the US President Donald Trump warned that Colombia, Cuba and Mexico could also face consequences unless, in his words, they get their act together.
Colombia is very sick too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. And he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you.
Are you considering U.S. action in Cuba?
We're not. I think it's just going to fall. I don't think we need any action. It looks like it's going down. It's going down for the count. You ever watch a fight?
Trump said the United States was acting to counter drug trafficking and to protect its interest in the Western Hemisphere. For many in the region, this sounded familiar. It revived a long and painful history of US intervention in Latin America. So the big question now is this. If Washington keeps escalating, can Latin America push back? Let's start with the military balance. The short answer is no, not in a conventional war. The United States has the strongest military on the planet. In 2025, it spent nearly $900 billion on defense. That is more than the next 10 biggest military spenders combined. By comparison, Latin American armies are far smaller and far less equipped. Brazil has the strongest military in the region, but even then it ranks only 11th globally. Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela and Cuba rank much lower still. None come close to the United States in aircraft, naval power, tanks, satellites or defense budgets. In a traditional war involving jets, ships and armored divisions, the United States would dominate. But that is not the whole story. Where Latin America does have experience is in irregular warfare. Across the region, paramilitary and armed civilian groups have played a major role in conflicts for decades. These groups do not fight like regular armies. They rely on local networks, unconventional tactics and long-term resistance better than open battles. Cuba is a key example. It has one of the largest paramilitary forces in the world, made up of more than 1 million people. These include civilian militias designed to support the army in case of invasion or internal crisis. Venezuela has its own version. Pro-government armed groups known as colectivos have been active for years. While not officially part of the military, they are widely seen as operating with state backing, especially during unrest. Colombia's history is even longer. Right-wing paramilitaries have emerged in 1980s to fight left-wing rebels. Although officially dismantled years ago, many later reappeared as criminal or neo-paramilitary groups, particularly in the rural areas. Mexico's situation is different but just as complex. Powerful drug cartels, some founded by former soldiers, operate like paramilitary forces. They continue territory, carry military-grade weapons and sometimes overpower local security forces. The Mexican army has increasingly been pulled into internal security because of this. So could these forces stop the United States? Not directly. They could not defeat the US military, but they could make any long-term occupation, intervention or proxy conflict costly, unstable and politically dangerous. And history matters here. The United States has intervened in Latin America repeatedly over the past 2 centuries. From the Banana Wars in Central America to Cold War era coups backed by Washington to the 1918 invasion of Panama that removed President Manuel Noriega, US power has often shaped the region. Even when military force was overwhelming, political fallout followed. That history explains why many governments in Latin America are deeply wary of US actions today, even if they lack the military strength to confront Washington directly. So where does that leave the region now? Latin America cannot fight the United States head-on, but it can resist through diplomacy, regional alliances, economic pressure and political mobilization. And as past conflicts have shown, even the strongest military in the world struggles when faced with prolonged resistance, fractured legitimacy and growing international scrutiny. The real battle may not be on the battlefield but over influence, alliances and the future balance of power in the Americas. For more such explainers, subscribe to DawnNews English.